So it's 6 o'clock right now. I recommend you kick it off.
Okay, call the meeting to order. The first business is the order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of
the
United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I think we may have to practice on that a bit. Jerry Barron is unable to join us this evening, so Tia has his directed proxy. First, next order of business is celebrating success. Tom, you take that?
Yes, so we're going to recognize the entire staff of Member Services. 2020 was an extremely challenging year for that department. During the summer months in particular, the staff put in countless hours of overtime without being asked in order to keep up with the demand of the activity cards. Activity cards, we sold 40% more activity cards in 2020 than the previous year. With the 2020 plan changes and working behind closed doors, the staff has gone above and beyond the call of duty. I salute each of them for an outstanding job. In addition to the activity cards being up 40%, guest passes were up 112%. They had to completely modify portions of their operation because of COVID, and they just did an outstanding job, and I want to compliment them, and it's a celebrating success, well deserved.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Tom.
People did a tremendous, and they're continuing to do a tremendous job. The next order of business is about the Bella Vista Country Club National Register.
So Judy Griffin, one of our outstanding staff members in our marketing department, took on this project, and on January 20th, the Arkansas Historic Preservation Program named the Bella Vista Country Club as a national registration of historic places. So this is a really nice honor. We're going to be getting a plaque that we're going to be placing out front. And it just goes with the heritage of the building. It was designed by Ife Jones, who founded the Arkansas School of Architecture. So something that we can all be proud of. And thank you, Judy, for your hard work on getting this done.
Hopefully they'll get some people in to take a look at it, just because it's a significant structure. So,
well, we've already had we were contacted by an individual that volunteers as a docent at Crystal Bridges and has volunteered to give tours. Wants to wait until COVID's all done with, so it could take a little while, but we already have some volunteers that would like to set up tours of the building, which would be fantastic.
That'll be great. Okay. Next up is something a little bit new. I call it the state of the POA. I guess it's the time of the year to review the past year. And I'll probably be reading most of this, so if I don't look up, that's because I'm reading, so I don't lose my place. 2020 proved to be a very challenging yet successful year for the POA. I would like to take a few minutes to touch on the many highlights of the year. With the approval by the membership, January brought the POA the first assessment increase since 2001. This was a significant accomplishment given the many failed attempts over a 20-year period. In tandem with the increase in assessments was the implementation of the 2020 fee schedule, which significantly reduced fees for our membership while simultaneously increasing the benefits. With a 40% increase in the number of activity cards sold, it is evident our membership enthusiastically embraced the 2020 fee schedule. I am pleased to add there was no increase in the 2020 fee schedule to the membership for 2021. And there will be no increase again in 2022. In March, we started to feel the influence of COVID. This pandemic significantly impacted every department of the POA. The number of operational changes that had to get implemented in a short amount of time was staggering. I want to take this opportunity to compliment every member of our POA staff for their continued commitment to providing outstanding service during one of the most challenging periods the POA has ever faced. Their willingness to come up with creative solutions to unforeseen challenges in an efficient and effective manner was nothing short of outstanding. Also, a big thank you to the membership for enduring and embracing the many changes and inconveniences necessitated by the pandemic. From a financial perspective, some departments were hard hit by COVID, such as our restaurants, while other departments, such as golf, saw a 21% increase in the number of rounds played. Our amenities will continue to closely follow COVID protocols until the pandemic has subsided. My compliments to our accounting team for successfully applying for and receiving over $100,000 in state COVID grants. On a different subject, in cooperation with the Arkansas Department of Environmental Quality, we continue to make steady progress on the remediation of the Trafalgar and Highlands stump dump sites. Our goal is to get both sites fully remediated and get these challenges behind us as soon as reasonably possible. Early in 2020, the Blowing Springs Connector project was approved by the Board of Directors. This cooperative effort with the city of Bella Vista has experienced some delays due to COVID, but is on track to be completed by May of this year. I already see it being used quite a bit. On other trails issues, the work on the Little Sugar Trail system is nearing completion and will soon become a marquee amenity for our community to be proud of. Here are a few other great accomplishments for the year. The APT Charity Golf Tournament featured for the first time professional golfers seeking to get on the LPGA Tour. I'm pleased to report that for 2021, this charity event will again feature the APT and WAPT professionals. Construction on the new pickleball courts at Branchwood is underway. The courts should be ready for use this spring. The 340 water main project is currently underway. Our goal is to get this work completed in a timely manner so there are no delays for the Highway 340 DOT project. The work on the new small dog park at Loch Lomond began in late 2020, and the park will be ready for use this spring. And as we already noted, the Country Club was recently named to the National Register of Historic Places. Even with the many challenges that were faced during the year, our management team was able to have a solid financial year. The water department performed better than budget by almost $1 million, while the POA performed better than budget by over $300,000. In closing, I'd like to thank our many committee members, the board of directors, our management team, and our property owners for their commitment to making Bella Vista a better place to live. And with that, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes from the December 17th regular meeting, the Board of Directors regular meeting. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
That was Mary made the motion. A second?
Second.
I heard a second. That was Tia.
Yep.
Okay. Are there any questions or corrections to these minutes? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
I see no dissenting votes. So that's 8-0. The next order of business, approval of the board work session from 1 week ago. I hear a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Yeah. David Welchel made the motion. A second.
Second.
Mary seconds. Okay, I noticed one item to change on the last page. The meeting adjourned at 9:10 a.m. It didn't adjourn the same time that it started. It started at 9 and got done by 9:10. So that's the only change I would. Doug, do we need to make a motion to amend that, change it?
Yeah, go ahead and do that, David. You can do that.
Okay. Somebody move to change that to 9:10.
I move that we change the minutes to read 9:10.
For a second.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any objections to that?
Don't let it happen again, David.
Well, I know. That's kind of, you know how it goes. All in favor of changing that to 9:10?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. None opposed. Okay, now we vote on the main motion of approval of the minutes.
Correct.
All those in favor? Approving the minutes?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? None opposed. Okay, next order of business is Joint Advisory Committee reports. Who is going to do those? Tom, are you handling those?
Yeah, I'm going to jump in. So the minutes for each of the committees will be posted to the website, but I'm going to give you a quick update with the items that were covered. For the Lakes Committee, Lake Rayburn at this point is 40 inches down, and they don't plan on refilling this until after April 1st. The Lake Ann sinkhole has been evaluated by the engineering company that we hired, and we are anticipating that we will receive the report from them the middle of February. The Lakes Committee and also the Rec Committee went over special events for the coming year. They made the assumption that all the events would take place, and they kind of just ignored COVID. That way we wouldn't have to come back at a later date. So the Lakes Committee approved the fishing derby, the kayak demo day, the Cooper Elementary Field Ecology Day, and the Baker Elementary Field Ecology Day. All those the dates are to be determined, and in the coming months they're going to just start discussing jug line and limb fishing. So that was Lakes. For Recreation Department, talked about how the pickleball court's going to be ready to go in the spring. The deck work at the Kingsdale Pool is moving along very nicely. The Loch Lomond Dog Park, we talked about that just a moment ago, or David referenced that it would be open in the spring. It's moving along very nicely. Construction on the Greenway is moving along. David also covered that during his state of the POA. And as I referenced earlier, the Recreation Committee discussed the special events and required approval for each of them. And it's a little bit longer list for recreation, so I'll reference you to go to the minutes for that. And then the Golf Committee talked about the new dress code, and that is on page 23 of your board packet. It's a slight modification of the previous one and keeping with trends of the golf industry. Also, Daryl discussed the numbers for all of 2020. Rounds were up by 29,266 over prior year, which is outstanding. Total member rounds were up 22,000, and non-member rounds were up 7,000. Range balls were up 43,000 range buckets to bring us to a total of 56,000 for the year. So we went from 13,000 last year in 2019 to 56,000 in 2020. So the range was very, very busy. The Golf Expo, because of COVID, has been canceled, but they're going to be doing individual days reservations with the different club vendors. And David referenced this earlier, but coming in June, the 22nd through the 26th, we're going to have the APT and the WAPT event, which is going to be outstanding. And finally, we have the AJGA, the Junior Golf Tournament, will be held at Highlands September 3rd through September 6th. So all three committees had a full agenda for the month.
Okay.
What changed about the golf attire? I read the statement, but what was different?
It used to require, they changed a couple things, but one thing of note was for men, they removed the requirement for collared shirts. These days, a lot of the pro golfers, it's fashionable to have a really nice shirt, but it doesn't have a collar, those type of things. So just keeping with the current golf trends.
Nice. Okay.
The next item is I'm going to share a screen, and we're going to look at the new app, and hopefully can everybody see my presentation? There we go. I saw Tia nod her head, so I'm going to assume that you can see that. So the Bella Vista app, we've talked about this, but I just want to reinforce this. This is our first version, and we're making regular improvements to this. This is what it looks like, and to find it, you're going to, on your search menu, you're going to go My Bella Vista. And this is what you're going to see, and you're going to click on it to download it and so forth. And what this features is a list of all the amenities, maps, directions. We have GPS, so it'll route you directly to the amenity, the hours of operation, the contact information, so the telephone number and the email address. It talks about the restaurants. Over here in the corner here says, let's go dining, and you can pull up the menu. Also, fitness classes, you can they're listed by date. You can get the location, the description. Over here on the bottom, you can see how you can see, let's see, we have the silver sneakers, boom, whatever that is. And then for the trailheads, we have such a large number of trailheads. We have maps, directions on how to get there, GPS coordinates. Also under member information, we have all our contact information. You can pay your water bill. You can pay your assessments through it. It's actually routing you for the paying of the assessments. It's actually routing you to our website, and you pay that way. But still, it's a pretty neat feature to be able to use this app to make a payment. And then finally, it has updated news that gets posted on a regular basis, and you can pull up the weather so you can see how warm it is or whether it's going to rain. So a lot of neat features, and we plan to make a lot more changes in the coming months, the coming years. What we hope to do is turn your phone into your activity card and guest passes for your relatives and so forth, to make it even easier so you don't have to carry around that information. So that's it. Any questions regarding the app, which is, we're getting a lot of people signing up to use it.
I absolutely love it. And I think it's so perfect that we finally have that. But I did try to use it the other day to look for a fee that I didn't know off the top of my head, and I couldn't find the fee schedule anywhere.
Let me look up, but I'm not sure if we have that listed. What we try to do is limit it to the things that are searched the most. So I'd probably direct you to go to our website for that, because that's definitely on the website. But I'll talk to Kim and see if we can add that. All right, next up, we have the financials, and I'm going to turn the presentation over to Stacy. Stacy, I'm going to be advancing this, so you just need to give me a prompt as to when you want me to advance the slide.
Okay, I'm having a few internet issues, so if I start jumping in and out, you'll have to jump in, Tom. But
No problem.
we have some preliminary financials for December and for year end. As a reminder, the financials are all on the website, and there's a location. We don't have everything finalized. You'll hear me say that probably 15 times tonight, because the numbers are going to change. They're changing as we go. But I think most of the big stuff is in, so it's more immaterial stuff, but the numbers are still changing. So 2020, we're going to talk about the POA in just December 1st. So just a few highlights. Again, numbers aren't final. Everything's preliminary and unaudited. Revenue, we're looking at 111,000 better than budget, roughly 30,000 golf, 60,000 in transfer fees. Our gross profit is up better than budget by 123,000. 5,000 of that is pro shop. And our operating expenses, as expected, were worse than budget by 587,000. 132 of that's in salaries and wages, 151 in maintenance and repairs, and 138 in the equipment and tools, non-capital. And this was the stuff, if you remember, that was catch up from early in the year that we had to wait until later in the year to purchase. And we ended up being 465,000 worse than budget for EBITDA, which is directly attributed to the operating expense. Next. So water, preliminarily for December, again, is not done. Right now, revenue is looking like it's about 124,000 better than budget, mainly contributed to the new services and the capital buy-in fees. Gross profits, 102 better than budget. And then in operating expenses, again, we're over in the non-capital equipment. Service contracts due, we had a double invoice that hit. So it was timing. Salaries and wages, and then software support again was a timing issue, but they ended up being about $2,000 better than budget. And again, these are all preliminary, unaudited, and just kind of where we're at today. We're still really moving. And so I debated even sharing, but I wanted to get, I think I might have lost you. Can you hear me?
Stacy, if you don't mind, I'm going to jump in and take over because you're cutting in and out pretty regularly.
Okay, that's fine. I was afraid of that.
Okay, so, but luckily Stacy put everything together. This is year-to-date consolidated. So this is the entire year, and this is both water and POA combined. You'll see that total revenue was better than budget by $1.6 million, with water leading the way, property sales, golf fees, and so forth. Gross profit better than budget by $1.7 million, with 88% of that, our gross margin is 88%. Water sales and connections, F&B margin at 63.6, transfer fees and lot sales. Over on the bottom left corner, you see that expenses were 381 worse than budget. We had a positive of 675 from salaries, but some negatives, professional services, the stump dump, the sinkhole, some equipment and meter installs. When you sell more water, when you have more hookups, you're going to have more meter installs. So EBITDA for the consolidated for the year pre-audit is $1.4 million. 374K of that is from the POA and 984 from water. You'll see that this was $3.5 million better than 2019. Keeping in mind in 2019 we had the fire, so forth. So we did really, really well. These are all preliminary. So here's your cash flow number. If you remember, we started the year at 3.5 million, and our goal was to pay off $280,000. Looks like we're going to pay off 700 instead. And I went back and looked at Stacy's estimate of where we were going to end at the end of the year, and she nailed it. She actually estimated 2.75, and it came out 2.8. So she was within 50,000. So pretty good estimating skills on Stacy's part. 3 outstanding capital projects that are underway. You'll see the water main relocation, the update for our GP Dynamics accounting system, and the pickleball courts. And we had anticipated all of these projects would go into the new year. Now we're going to look at the COVID funding. And so Stacy really took the bull by the horns, and she was the one that's primarily responsible for getting $110,000. And this presentation she puts together, you'll see that 23,000 of it went to miniature golf, and that picture in the bottom right is some of the features that were recently delivered. They were actually delivered before the end of the year. Also, we were able to spend $25,000 on the deck expansion at Scottsdale. Went from a 16 by 24 to a 32 by 34. So quite a bit larger. We'll overlook the 18th green at Scottsdale. We also were able to put up park fencing at Tanyard Creek. And this has proved to be very successful in controlling where people are parking and not allowing them to park all over the place. We're also able to purchase 6 water and ice dispensing units that will be used for the golf course remote restroom locations. And 14 of that was used for the dog park. And what's really nice is the old dog park had 6,400 square feet. We're now up to 12,500. They're working on laying the sod pretty soon, but we have to let the sod grow in before we can open up in the spring. So we're moving along well on that project. We also expanded the deck up at Highlands. The expansion was 450 square feet. And we added wiring for sound, music, and sporting events. So it'll be another great place to hang out. So here's a nice pie chart showing you how the 110,000 was used. And every single one of these projects, Stacy or one of our staff members made sure to contact a state representative to make sure that every single project was approved by them. Here's some additional things. So she went and asked the senior directors some of their top accomplishments for 2020. So here's a few of them. Legal collections were 104,000 better. We sold 216 lots for $290,000 in revenue. Activity card sales were up by 41%. Guest passes up by 112, boat registrations by 21. And we mentioned earlier how golf rounds were up 29,000 over a prior year. Also, we mentioned earlier how the range buckets were up 43,000 and ended the year at 56,000 buckets. That's a lot of balls being hit. Capital projects, 19 projects closed for a total of $832,000. 71 million additional gallons of water were used this year in 2020. That's attributable to additional growth and additional usage with so many people working from home. Water taps, you can see that we did 224 new services in 2019, and in 2020 that went up to 424. So the crew is very, very busy. We had a successful 4th of July at Lake Point, even with COVID, 150 people, and we sold out. Maintained a 4-star plus rating at both restaurants. The RV park, in spite of all the construction that was going on down there, we were sold out Thanksgiving and the July holidays. Record numbers of reservations at the tiny cabin. And if you recall, for the 21 budget, we're going to be expanding the number of tiny cabins we have. And that is it. So that's your well-run tour. And sorry, Stacy, you weren't able to present it. You deserve all the credit for your hard work. Any questions for me or for Stacy?
Tom, do you have a greatest hit that you want to add to the list? I saw the managers put theirs in. Do you have a take from yourself?
You know, I would say that I have the honor and privilege of working with the best team that I've ever worked with in my entire career. I am so proud of every single one of the department heads that I have the pleasure to work with.
Looky there, constant professional.
That's the best I can come up with off the top of my head.
I think you got even more than that happened on that list. plus all the great things that progressed forward with all the discussions we're going to have this year. So in the midst of adversity, I thought it was a good use of the capital. A fine job by the surviving teams.
Well, on the topic of adversity, I also want to comment of how quickly and how often we had to change our operations. There was times that we had to make changes within a few hours or a few days to make sure that we were accommodating our customers and providing them with outstanding service, while also changing our operation due to COVID. And now we're getting ready where we're hopefully soon going to be doing the reverse, where we now have to get fully operational. So we're going to be on the opposite or the other side of the coin on that. So I'm very proud of the team and how hard they work.
They definitely did work hard. The moving on from that, the next item on the agenda is last month's open forum comments and questions, or more properly, we just move on to the open forum. And my understanding is there are no emails to be read at this time.
No.
So the next item up for business is something we actually get to vote on. This has to do with the bylaws, Article 5, Section 2. This will be the second of 2 required readings. This has to do with actually putting into writing what has been standard practice for as long as I remember. If there are more than 3 openings on the board, there has to be a way to decide who gets the 3-year terms, who doesn't, who fills out the remaining term of an open. And that's what this one does. So we talked about it before. Is there any further discussion?
This is on page 25 of your board packet.
I'm sorry, I forgot to say that. No, I have it on page 30.
I have it on 25. Just say 20,
Okay.
25. It's on 25.
That's updated package. Anyway,
All right.
is there, will someone read that motion for me, please?
I make a motion to approve the changes to bylaws Article 5, Section 2 as noted. This is the second of 2 required readings.
Thank you, Tia. Second on that?
I'll second it.
Okay, Mike got in there. He seconded it.
Simultaneous.
Simultaneous, yep. I guess that would be a second and a third then. Okay, any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
It is unanimous.
Aye.
Got it. Okay. Next item is the election committee. Tom Throne is with us this evening. He will announce the board candidates and their order of appearance on the ballot. So, Tom, go ahead.
Drum roll, please.
Tom Throne. He's frozen.
All right. Thanks, Tom.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. I want to introduce, I finally get to speak and you can't hear me? Everything okay?
We can hear you now.
Okay. I want to introduce my committee members first, Bob Rischel, Ann Dalkey, and James Miller. They elected me to be the sole spokesman for tonight. As you know, we have 4 slots to fill on the board. In the upcoming election, there'll be the 3 top candidates will get 3-year terms, and then the 4th person will be to a 1-year term. We had 8 people. We had 17 request packets. We had 8 people turn, and they were Mary Sinkus, Michael Ebb, JB Portillo, Jan Hagan, Dan Berghammer, Joy Sawyer, Steve McKee, and Jackie Gain. Of those, Mary Sinkus withdrew her petition packet. The petition packet from Joy Sawyer was rejected because it was submitted after the deadline. The deadline was Wednesday, the 13th, I think, of January, and we didn't receive her full packet till the 15th. That was debated quite a bit by the committee before it was decided to reject that. And it was basically because it was after deadline and we weren't willing to make exceptions because in the future, trying to figure
Oh no, the juicy stuff.
Tom, you broke up there. Could you back up just a little bit? You said but in the future and.
Well, what the committee was concerned about was if we allowed one person to miss the deadline and we accepted, at what point do we decide in the future if somebody's late again, will we want to accept it? And we didn't want to make an exception to the rule. We felt that there was enough notice given including 6 email notices. One deadline was stated at the December 10th board meeting, and the deadline was communicated in a January 6th board candidate informational meeting. So we felt that there was enough notice given to make sure that those were placed in. Also the packet from Mr. McKee, Steve McKee, was rejected in accordance with bylaw Article 3, Section 1, which talks about if you've been removed by the board from the board, that you have to sit out 3 years before you can run again. Therefore, the petitions of Mr. Abb, Ms. Portillo, Mr. Hagan, Mr. Berghammer, and Ms. Gain were accepted by the elections committee. So we will have 5 candidates this year on the ballot. And I want to hold the drawing now so we can get the order. And I'm going to have my wife assist me. So, if you'll hold that, and there we go. And I'll do the drawing. So our first one is the second in the order on the ballot will be Michael Abb. The third on the ballot will be JP Portillo. And the fourth will be Jan Hagan.
Hey, Tom.
Tom, yes, sir.
You broke up. Who is number 1 and who is number 5?
Number 1 was Dan Berghammer, and number 5 was Jackie Gain. A couple of dates that are significant in the upcoming for the election. We'll have a meet the candidate event. I'm seeing I'm getting a little instability here. Can you hear me?
Okay, I think we've lost him, but we do have
Am I locked up?
Yeah, we have the meet the candidates coming up relatively soon. But was that all you needed to cover, Tom?
Well, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Is that better? Okay. I wanted to do the meet the candidate update, meet the candidate night at 6 p.m. on the 16th. we're not, it's going to be live streamed by Zoom, but we're not quite sure how we're going to set that up yet. Candidate profiles are going to be due on February 22nd, and we'll get some information out to the candidates on that. The election will begin April 16th, and the results will be announced May 8th at the annual meeting. And other than that, I'm open for questions. Hearing none, that's our report, and I appreciate you allowing us to serve on this committee.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, and thanks to the whole committee for the work they've done. Next item is a waiver request. Policy concerns policy 8.03. This is a property owner on Canning Drive, wants to build a new home, and he's having trouble fitting the proper septic system onto one lot, so he has purchased two lots. Unfortunately, there is a bit of common property between the two. He's asking permission to run the line from the tank to the lateral field across common property. And this is brought up and discussed during the work session. First off, we will need to have a motion. Who will make that motion? Mary?
I move that we accept the waiver or grant the waiver.
Okay, that's on lots 27 and 28 on Cannick Drive.
I'll second the motion.
David seconds the motion. Okay. Is there any discussion on this? I know we've discussed it quite a bit. And
I just have one thing, David. And I don't know who from the city, who from the POA, who from the ACC goes out and sees what direction they're going to send this line through to the other lot. But it would be nice to minimize damage to the tree canopy. And that's pretty much my only sticking point on these things. I think it's totally fine if you've got your second lot and you're not trying to leach onto the common property. And going through the common property seems all well and good until you really damage the tree canopy a lot. And so understanding a bit more of that is the gray area here. And I'm not sure about this individual case, but that's something we got to take.
Okay, Mike, if you could see the screen now, Tom has put up on the screen a lot of the two lots in question and the pie-shaped area between them. The road is the low spot. The back of the lots away from the road is high. And the trees in that area amount to tall shrubs right along the road. And some of them aren't even very tall. So it's basically a pasture as it sits at this point. So for this instance, there'd be very little impact to the tree canopy. This is on the very extreme west edge of Bella Vista, just a stone's throw from the bypass. So
good deal. Well, this one looks good.
Not going to hurt the trees on this one. So there you can see the bypass. That's the end of it there, and the continuation of the new construction. So it was a concern, and every time these things come before us, we ask a lot of questions. So, okay. That being said, I think we can go ahead and call for a vote. All those in favor of granting the waiver signify by raising your hands or saying aye.
Aye for both.
Aye
for both.
That's unanimous then. Okay. The next item of business is something that we changed not that long ago, the appointment of corporate officers. This is for the state. They want to know every year who are our corporate officers, president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, that sort of thing. So it was suggested that we do it after a certain amount of time that the new board members have had a chance to get to know the people. And it used to be done in June. It's now being done in January. So with that, I would entertain a motion to appoint Tom Judson as president, Doug McCash as vice president, Tammy Lloyd as secretary, Roxy Goins as assistant secretary, and Stacy Higgins as treasurer. Do I hear a motion to do that?
So moved.
Mary makes that motion. A second?
Second.
Tia seconds it. Is there any discussion at this time?
I feel it kind of has to be said every year. This is not assigning two positions to these people. This is just a standard business practice of who has that title on paper. I know a lot of members ask and get a little confused thinking it's a separate position, but it's not. It's the title that we do every year.
This is the state designations, not what we call these people, but this is what the state asks for. So this is who they are. So, okay, with that being said, I will call for a vote. All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
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 Okay, that's unanimous. That brings us to the conclusion of our regular agenda. The announcements are the Recreation JAC Joint Advisory Committee meeting is Monday, February 8th, 4 p.m. That will be Zoom. All of these meetings are by Zoom only. The Golf JAC meeting is Wednesday, February 10th at 8:30 a.m. Lakes JAC meeting is Wednesday, February 10th at 2 p.m. The Board of Directors GM meeting on Thursday, February 11th is at 4 p.m. The Board of Directors work session, Thursday, February 18th at 9 a.m. That one is broadcast to the public. And the Board of Directors regular session for February will be Thursday, the 25th at 6 p.m. That also will be Zoom. And hopefully with the coming of the vaccine, someday we'll get back to getting back in the room together. So it'll come. It'll come. Is there any other business? Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Come on, somebody. Yeah. David Welchel moves to adjourn. A second?
Second.
Mike seconds that. All in favor?
Aye.
Everybody.
Hey, it's
Thank you,
unanimous.
David. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, folks.
Take care.
Good meeting.